Hey guys! Welcome to the 8th video in my Python course. Today I will go deeper into if, else, and elif statements, which we started talking about in the previous video. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you check it out. I'll have it linked below, of course. Anyway, let's get started with the ternary operator, more commonly known as conditional expression in Python. This operator allows us to reduce the structure of an if statement and is used mainly when there's a single instruction to perform with the if statement. So this lets us get everything in one line only. Basic structure is first the instruction to run if the condition is true, then the word if, and then the condition which determines what part of the code to run, and then you may add the keyword else, and then the code to run if the condition is false. So it goes as follows: value if true, then if, then the condition, and after that an else, and then the value if false, all in one line. Let's look at an example. Say we want to check whether x is less than 5, and if so, store x in variable z, and if not, store the value -1 in variable z. For that, we first declare x, so x is equal to 4. Then we declare z with value 0, so z is equal to 0, mainly to let Python know this is an integer. And first we have to write the instruction to run if the condition is true, so z is equal to x if x is less than 5. And if not, we write else z is equal to -1. To test this, we'll print z's value in the console and run the code. We can see z is now worth 4 because x was 4, and since 4 is less than 5, the first part of the operator is run, making z worth the same as x, 4 that is. If I change x to be equal to 6, if we run the code now, we see z's value is now -1 because the condition wasn't met, and the instruction corresponding to the ternary operator is run. And like we said, this coding style is useful to perform small checks, but if we have big blocks of code to run, the correct solution would be to use a full if-else statement. Let's now look at this statement a bit more. If we need to perform various checks, we know we can add elif to the structure. But we can also make use of what's known as nested statements. Let's take a look at this. Say we want to print whether a variable is odd or even, but we also want to check, if even, whether it's a multiple of 5 or not. For that, we need to nest a number of ifs, meaning we first check that x is an even value. For that, we can use the modulus operator that gives us the remainder of a division. So to make the check, we can write if the remainder of x divided by 2 is 0, and remember to use double equal there because it's a comparison, and then the number's even. So then, within the if, and with the right indentation, we print x is even. What we want now is to check whether x is a multiple of 5, besides being even. So, with the same indent as the previous line, not more, we write our nested if statement, with the modulus operator as before, since it's a similar case. So, if the remainder of x divided by 5 is 0, we print x is a multiple of 5. Then, to print if x has an odd value, we have to write else at the same indent level as our first if. Here we can see how important indentation is for Python. Where we place the else determines whether it's referencing the first if or the nested if within it. So we write else print x is odd. Let's run the code and see how it works. For that, we have to first define a value for x, say 6. So x is equal to 6. If we run the code, we see that it returns x is even, as we expected. Now if we change x to 7, then we get x is odd. Similarly, if x is 10, then we should get 2 messages, since 10 is even and also a multiple of 5, which is exactly what happens. Finally, let's look at what's known as chained conditionals. The idea behind this is that the condition to be used will depend on other logical conditions before it. The magic words we use for this are and or. And or behave similarly to logical circuit gates, in case anyone has worked with those before. Also, if you're interested in coding for electronics and want videos about that, do let me know in the comments, please. So, moving on. The instruction AND is placed between two logical operations and returns true if they're both true, and false otherwise. Then the instruction OR returns true if at least one of them is. Let's look at an example. So x is equal to 5, y is equal to 6, and if x is less than 10 and y is greater than 10, print yeah. In this example, we can see that even though x is less than 10, then y isn't greater than 10. So the final result of our condition is false, because one of the two is false. If I change y from 6 to 17 and run the code again, we see that now both conditions are true, so the whole statement returns true, and we get the yeah printed. If we change the instruction AND for an OR, it will work too, because at least one of the conditions is true. They both are, in this case. So if we go back to 6 as the value of y, then we still get true, because it's enough to have one of the conditions be true. So we still get that yeah printed. I hope this all made sense. Next video will include some challenges to practice what we've been learning so far, so stay tuned for that. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and code up!